ways to develop a product. You can focus on an app or you can focus on a website. Um, in either cases, you might have heard of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? For web development, you use these technologies to build a website from scratch. HTML, you might be knowing that it's used for structuring the entire website. CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, it's used to design your structure. And JavaScript, on the other hand, is actually a programming language which is used to add functionality to your site. Before all this, I just want to interact with everyone. So give me a thumbs up if you are a fresher. Let's go. Who all are freshers here? Or you can maybe write it in the chat, drop a chat if you're a fresher. Just write fresher if you're a fresher. Let's go. You can't see any screen. Ayush Duhan. Is my screen visible to everyone? Okay, it is visible. Okay. So, how many second years are here? Just write second if you're a second year student. Okay, I see a lot of freshers here. That's nice. Cool, 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 cool. Let's continue. So, if you're a fresher, let's assume that
ಅಂತಂತ ಮೇಡಮ್ 38 பேர்
Nitin, can
இருக்காங்க.
you please turn off your mic, please? Okay, cool. So, let's continue. I see there are a lot of freshers here. So, let's assume that a lot of you might not know about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, let me begin from scratch, right? Um, so, first of all, this thing is known as a code editor. Uh, you might be using VS Code, but I use Cursor, which is an AI-powered code editor. It's used to write codes and build projects. Okay. Let me open a project on my desktop, let's say. Let me go to my personal folder, then my code folders, and let me go to my event folder. Let me create a folder here. What should I name it? Let me name it OSPC Event 1. So this is the way you open a folder on a code editor. If you are using VS Code, you can do this in a similar way. The format might be different, but yeah. I would want all of you to try to follow along by doing what I'm doing. If you can divide your screen into two parts, looking at my video and working on the same side. Okay. So you can also drop your questions and queries while I do this so I can answer your questions. So let's continue. Um, this is known as an HTML file. Okay. So this is the way you create an HTML file. You write this code. This is the boilerplate code for an HTML document. You write the HTML tag. Then this HTML tag has two inner tags, which are known as the head tag and the body tag. Whatever you write inside this gets displayed on the site. Okay. So how do I open this? Like, how do I open this document to view it on a browser, right? So I will reveal this in my folder in my file manager. I'll click on it and this will redirect you to this page. But problem is I don't see anything on my site currently, right? So what I'll do is, let me just open this on a different browser. And as we can see, it's still not visible. So what is the problem? Actually, there is no content inside my body tag. So what I'll do is I'll create an H1 tag, which stands for heading one. This is the largest heading size that you get. Let's type hello world. And as we can see, once we reload this page, hello world is displayed on this side. Okay. If we want to, let's say, add a paragraph to this and say this is a paragraph. And once you come back to this, it's not getting displayed still. So we have to reload our page. Now you can see there is a paragraph as well as a heading over here. So how do I style this? I can use a CSS file to style my individual elements. Now, how do I do this? I first link my HTML file to this index.css file. This file is known as a style sheet. So I declare the relation as a style sheet and I write the link. I keep the link as style, no, not style.css. I keep it as index.css. So is our website styled now? No, right? So what I want to do is I want to make this heading. I want to turn the color of this black heading to a red one. How I'm going to do is I'll grab this H1 tag and I'll set the color of this H1 tag as red. And once I reload my page, you can see it has changed its color to red. This is how you link an index.css file to your HTML file. What if you want uh, any functionality to be added to your index.html file? You create an app.js file, you write any kind of code. Let me generate it using AI. Um, Now this will generate something. Okay, that's nice. Now this is how you write your JavaScript file. And if you want to link it, you create a script tag at the end of your body tag, inside the body tag still, and you declare the source as app.js. Cool. Now, this is how you do it. Now, all this thing, like creating a website using index.html, index.css, and app.js, is a very lengthy process, and it might take you more than a day to complete your project if you use just this. So what I've brought to you is, okay, so by the way, this way of writing your code to create a website is known as vanilla. This is a vanilla code, which basically means that you are creating everything from scratch. You're writing the HTML file, you're first creating the structure of a file in a separate file, structure of the website in a separate file, mentioning the style of this HTML file in a separate file known as a style sheet, and adding the functionality in a different file. Instead, what you can do is you can use any framework and library to speed up your process of development. Till here, I don't think anyone will have any doubt, but if you have any doubt, just write it in the chat box, or else I'll continue with my presentation. You can unmute yourself if you have any doubts right now. If no, you can just give me a thumbs up so that I can continue. Okay, I don't see anyone having any doubt, so I think I can continue. So now I'll introduce you to a framework, sorry, a library called React.js. React.js is basically a library for designing websites. Okay, you can create interfaces and you can create components using both JavaScript, HTML, and you can also style them using in the style sheets using CSS. Okay, now there are many ways to build a website, but this is one of the most popularly used libraries to create a site. Okay, um, so when you are using React.js for your project, you need to first install this the boilerplate code from npm. npm stands for Node Package Manager, and you have to make sure that you have installed Node.js. Okay, so if you are following along with me, I would like you to download Node.js from this site. I'll add the link of this site to the chat box. Cool. And you can download it from here. Once you go to this site, this will automatically be updated according to the version of your device and to the device you're using. So once you have completed the downloading process, um, you can go to your terminal. This is, by the way, known as Warp, which is a different kind of a terminal for me. I have downloaded it from the website, and this basically gives me a lot of more functionalities, such as I can use an AI agent. If I have any doubt, I can ask it and it will perform it for me. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the folder that I want using this cd command. This command stands for basically it's used for navigating through directories. Okay, so I'll navigate to my events folder and I'll see what folders I have. And let's create another folder known as event. Let's navigate to that. And let's create a React project to start our entire thing. For this, we won't be using React directly. We'll be using a different framework of React, which is known as Vite. So when you go to this site, I'll add the link of the site in the chat box again. I'll click on Get Started, and I can go back to the site and I can click on where is it? Okay, Getting Started, right? So you can come to this section of this page, scaffolding your first Vite project, copy this command, and then paste it in your code editor. I'll open this folder in my code editor. Let me zoom it. Let me open the terminal first. Then I'll paste the command that I just copied in my terminal. I'll add dot slash to create this over here. Now, um, once I am done with this, I have to select a framework. And over here, we'll select React as a framework. I'll select JavaScript, and then my folder is initialized over here. Now, what I'll do is I'll run npm install to install all the dependencies. I can create another terminal over here, and then I can enter the command npm run dev to start my project. Once I'm done doing this, I'll explain you the boilerplate code and we'll start working on this. Till here, does anyone have any doubt? I guess no. So yeah, we can copy this URL and we can enter this on the browser. And as you can see, this is what will be displayed to you when you first download the boilerplate code. and you start your project. Let me just drag this here. So, where is the code for this written? It's written inside the SRC folder. We inside the SRC folder, we have an assets folder and we have four different files. This main.jsx file has is the entry point of our React project. Now, as you can see, the extension of this file is neither an HTML one, nor a JS, nor a CSS. Okay, this is called JSX. Now, JSX files are a mix of HTML and JavaScript. So, as you can see, this over here, this create root, this might look to you like a function. These statements, import statements, might look to you as a function or anything you write in a JavaScript code. But this over here might look to you like an HTML tag, right? So in conclusion, this is a mix of JavaScript and HTML. Once you look at the code, you will see that there is an app component over here. If you click on this component by pressing the command, or if you're on a Mac, or control if you're on Windows, you will be redirected to this component over here. And this is the place where all the code for this is written. Okay, let me merge these two windows. And as you can see, if I delete all this code and if I click on save, I get an error. If I create a main tag and if I add an h1 tag saying hello world, this will be displayed over here. Okay. Now, if let's say I want to style this, I can go back to this page. I can delete all the existing ones. I can delete all the index CSS things. And as you can see, this is the thing that I wrote. And let me just delete all this. Let me delete the background color and everything. Color scheme should be light. And yeah, this is what is displayed over here because I have written the code in this file. Now, what if I don't want all these index.css files and I just want to write the styling elements over here itself? What I'll do is I'll use a framework for CSS, which is known as Tailwind CSS. So in this project, in this entire session, we'll be using the version 3 of Tailwind CSS. Um, let's say I go to this site and I will install the Tailwind CSS framework using Vite because we are using a Vite.js project. Now, I'll copy this command. I'll go back and then I'll paste it here. This will install all the dependencies and packages which are required to work on this particular folder, work on this project, and use Tailwind CSS in my code. This will take some time. And once it's done, I can continue with the next process. You can look at these documentations. Also, one thing, when you create a project for a hackathon, you might not know certain things about any technology that you want to use. Okay, let's say if many of you are here who are new to Tailwind CSS and to React.js, you can always read the documentations for these. You can refer those, and the documentations provide you a way to follow along and then create your project by your own. Okay, and if you find all this too tough, you can always go to YouTube and you can search for things like React Tailwind CSS one shot. Once you search this on YouTube, you have a lot of one shot videos. For example, this one is of 1 hour. You can quickly look at this. You can quickly understand how Tailwind CSS works, and then you can continue with your project. Okay. Now, once we are done installing this thing, we can go back to our documentations. We can start follow along with the next step. Over here, we have to navigate to the tailwind config.js file, and we have to replace the empty content array with all these things. So I'll replace it like this. And once I'm done with that, I have to add these directives to my CSS files. So I'll go back to this index.css file. I'll go to the top and add these directives over here like this. And once I'm done doing that, we are all set. I'll stop my server. I'll write npm run dev once again. This will restart my project. I can go back to my h1 element, and how you style elements in a React app which has Tailwind CSS in it, you can just go write a class name saying, let's say if you want this hello world to be of a bigger size, I'll just write text LG, which stands for text large. I can save it, and you can see that this grew in size. If I want it even more big, I can write text 4XL, and as you can see, this again increase its size. If I want it bold, instead of going back to the CSS file every time, selecting that element using the class name or using any kind of query, you can just write it over here, save it, and you can see the changes in real time. Okay. So this was one of the example of how you can use Tailwind CSS to speed up your development process. Now, uh, I'll show you a project that I made, and before that, I would again ask you guys if you have any questions or doubts. Um, you can unmute yourself if you want. I'm like very chill to all this. You can just ask me any question you want. If you have any questions regarding how you can get till here, or how if you are facing any errors or any problems while setting this up, you can ask me. Any questions, anyone? I guess no. Let's continue then. So this is the site which I was talking about. Over here, um, this is a to-do management app which I created using React.js. You can add a new task, let's say buy eggs, and then click on add, and it will be added to this list. And if you want to, let's say, complete this task by clicking on the tick mark, it's done like this. Okay. Now, if you want to delete a certain task, you can click on the delete button. And as you can see, this doesn't take even a little bit of time. It immediately performs all the actions that I perform on this site. Okay. If let's say I want to undelete it or mark it as undone, I can click on plus and it will go back to here. Okay. So this is a task managing section, and I created this to show you I added a backend API over here. I'm fetching these jokes from an API known as Joke API. And this is a component which I grabbed from a library, which I'll tell you afterwards. Okay. As you can see, this has a nice animation to it. Now, Sheikh has a question. What is importance of Node.js and React language? So I'll explain it to you. Just give me a second. So basically, there are many ways to create a website, right? One of it was HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Another way to create a website is using certain stacks which are built over HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Um, for example, if you go to any site, let's say Netflix, okay, let me navigate to Netflix. If you right click on your page and if you click on inspect, as you can see, this entire site is built using HTML and the styling is done using CSS. Now, you might think that this entire site was built just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but that is not the truth. This is built using a popular framework called Next.js, about which I'll be talking about in some time. Now, so in production level projects, you don't actually use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Use certain frameworks which are built on top of these. For front end, we use tech stacks like React.js, or you can use AngularJS. You can also use other frameworks which are there. For backend, okay, what do I mean by front end and backend? Um, if I again go back to, let's say, Netflix, whatever things that you see as a user or a client on your page, this is known as front end. The logo, the color of this button, this text, and everything, this is called the front end. And if, let's say, you plan to restart your membership, when you click on this button, you get redirected to another page, right? This functionality of routing to some other page, and maybe if you actually click on start membership, it will start your membership. The logic of this is stored in the server. Okay, it's not stored in the front end, it's stored in the server, and all of this functionality is happening on the back end side. So that is called backend. Server runs on the backend. Now, uh, Netflix has more than lakhs of users, okay, more like crores and crores of users. So how does it manage all these users? It has a database. What a database is basically, for every site, there's a database where you have a lot of collections. Okay. You have, let's say, for Netflix, let's consider Netflix. For Netflix, you have a front end, a back end, and a database. In its database, it might have a lot of collections, such as number one, users collection. It has a lots of users, such as Sheikh, let's say. Then we have Ramanuj. Then let's say me, myself. Then inside the, like, another collection can be movies. It can have a movie, let's say Harry Potter or Bahubali. Then it can have another collection, let's say um, comments, or maybe plans, or maybe um, any kind of collection. Okay, it can be seeders or any other stuff. So inside the, like, the information that is stored inside the collection, that information is known as a document. Okay, inside a document you have further more information about that specific user. Let's say if you're considering in the users collection, let's say you're considering me, Mannat. I will have a lot of more information, such as my personal information, the day I started my subscription and the day it will end for me, the amount of movies that I've saved in my wish list. This is how the database works. The database provides us a very seamless way to manage all our data in one place. So again, let's come back to this. For backend, we use Node.js. We can also, Node.js is a JavaScript framework for backend. You can also use Flask, which is a Python framework. You can also use Fast API, which is again a Python framework. For database, we have an SQL and a NoSQL database. Under SQL databases, we have PostgreSQL, MySQL, and etc. For NoSQL databases, we have MongoDB, and we have a lot of other stuffs as well. So you can learn more about these later when I'm done with the entire session. You can ask me the doubts if you have. So Node.js is used for running the script files and all the logic, the backend logic in your project. Okay. Since we are running our site using npm Node Package Manager, I will show you how this Node Package Manager looks like. The site has a lot of packages so that you don't have to build them by yourself. Let's say I want to implement a barcode scanner in my project. If I search a barcode scanner in this npm site, you can see there are a lot of packages on this page. I can go to this React barcode scanner. If we read the introduction, it is a lightweight barcode scanner based on barcode detection API and polyfill use, zbar.wasm. How do I install this? This is the way I can install a package. And as you can see, this is the format of a command for installing a certain package. npm install or npm I React barcode scanner. In a similar manner, you can install other packages as well. Okay, so let me close this and get back to my project. So uh, I wouldn't write the code for this entire thing from scratch, but I'll provide you the code for this website. You can follow along if you want, and I'll tell you the features of this once I'm done explaining. Just give me a second. Okay, by the way, this site is called GitHub. This is where you store all your codes. Okay. I have this React session code over here, and I'll just copy this URL and I can just share it with you in the comments, in the chat box, I mean. You can view the repository and you can navigate through my code to understand more about what I'm teaching you guys. So let me close all this and let me open that project for you guys. So, just give me a second. Now, this is the code for this particular site, read.js. Sorry, this to-do app. Okay. Now, if we close this and if we look at this site, if I want to run this project locally, what I'll do is I'll again open my terminal and I'll run npm run dev. As you can see, this doesn't work here because I don't have my node modules installed. What do I need to do to run my node modules? What I'll do is I'll write this command to install all the dependencies once again. Once I do this, I'll wait for the command to run properly. As you can see, all the packages have been installed. And then once again, I can clear my terminal and I can run this. And as you can see, this started running. I can copy this URL. I can close this and I can paste this on my browser. And you can see that this site is here. Now, how do I create this page, right? Using JSX. In JavaScript and HTML and CSS, you have to write the entire code in one index.html file if you are planning to work on a single page. This doesn't work like this in a React.js project because if let's say uh, you look at the original code which is here, you'll notice that the HTML file will be very big and you can't write everything from scratch and like expect it to be done within a day. So what you do is, and even if let's say someone else wants to work on your code, let's say if you're working in a big company, and if someone else wants to work on a code, let's say in this particular button, you don't like the design of this, you don't like the color of this, you want to change it to white. So that person has to go through a lot of gibberish, which you won't understand because you have written the code. So he will spend a lot of time on looking where this actually is. But what React does is it takes all the components that you have, okay, you write the code in a format so that it gets modularized and it divides itself into separate components. What I've done is that in this entire page, I've divided these two columns into separate divs. Okay, div is a container in HTML, and we will be looking at this over here. So let me first combine these two, merge these two pages. And as you can see, this is responsive. So we can learn more about this by looking at my code. So what if I want to look at this particular component? I'll go inside my task list and then I'll click on this task button. Okay, this task component. Individual tiles that you can see over here, I have named them as a task. Okay. Now, if let's say you want the color of this one to be white, if the task is not done, what you can do is you can simply go and change it to white. And as you can see, everything turned to white. Okay. Now, if I want to revert back the changes, I can revert back to it. Now, how easy was this? It took me only like if I have made the code, or if let's say someone else who has a good knowledge of React.js, if he's working on the same code, it won't take him that much of a time to come to this component and change this, right? If let's say I want to change the functionality of something, this gives me an easy access of both the structure as well as the code logic in just one go. As you can see, if the task is not done, I'll immediately set the color of this, and that will happen inside the div itself so that I don't have to go for to the index.css file every time I want to change the design of something. Okay. So yeah, this is the advantage of using React.js. Now, React.js is a front-end framework. And if you want to write a back-end code, you will have to run a Node.js project. Okay. If you want, I can show you how you can run a Node.js project, but we'll skip that for now. And I'll introduce you to a different framework now, which is known as Next.js. Okay. Next.js is a full stack framework, and I'll show you. Next.js is a React framework, and it's a full stack framework which allows you to write both front end as well as back end code for your website. Okay. And we'll get started with this. And for now, let's take a break of, let's say, 5 minutes, and we'll continue from 8:50. Till then, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat box and we can have a chat. Okay, let's go. I see no one has any doubts, so I think we can proceed without the break. Okay, let's proceed. Uh, so let's continue with Next.js. In this entire session, I have first showed you this site, which was a React site. Then I'll be showing you how to make things extremely fast. Okay, I like it'll speed up your work from, let's say, if you if someone makes this site, what I'm going to show you in, let's say, a week, I'll make it in 20 minutes. That's it. Okay, I'll show you that site in some time. But first, let's see what Next.js is. Next.js is a React framework for building full stack web applications. And we still use React components here. We still have all the functionalities of a React.js project. But apart from that, we have different features for routing the pages, for adding backend APIs, for creating server actions. You can also add validation, caching, and the newer version of Next.js provides you with like lots and lots of functionalities. Okay. So how we navigate in a Next.js project is that is known as how to add Git repository in VS Code in working flow. Okay, let's I'll tell you how to do that. So if let's say you go to GitHub, this is how your GitHub interface will look like. If let's say you want to add any project of yours to GitHub, how you can do that is, let me clear my terminal. Now, let's say, or maybe wait, I have this, right? Let me open this code once again. I'm so sorry. I'll open the OSPC event one folder and I'll open this folder in my text editor. Now, if you want this project to be uploaded on GitHub, what GitHub allows you is that you can create many repositories on your GitHub account. You can click on your profile picture. You'll be looking at this sidebar. Just click on your repositories. On this page, you can click on this new repository button, and you can over here you can create a new repository. Let's say I want to name my repository as first repository or maybe first one. Okay, you can write this is my first repo on GitHub. You can set the visibility as private or public. Let's keep it public for now. You can add a README file, which is basically a description of your entire project. And you can create this repository. Click on create repository to create this repository. It will take some time. Then you will be redirected to this page. Okay. Now, let's say you want to add your code, this entire thing which you wrote here, to this repository. What we'll do is we'll click on this code button. We'll copy this command over here. We'll copy this, go back to your code editor, and then click on the terminal and then just write this command: git remote add origin. Okay. Or maybe, okay, I think you'll be facing some errors over here. Let me create a repo once again so that I can teach you nicely. This, let's keep the name as first and let's create a repository without adding a README file. You'll be seeing this interface. Okay. If let's say you want to create a new repository on the command line, you can follow this method. Or if you want to push an existing repository, let's say like you did here, you can follow this. Okay. So once you are done creating your first repository, this will be the page that you will be seeing. Okay. So I don't want to create a new repository all over. I want to push an existing one from the command line itself. So in this case, I'll copy this first line. I'll go back to my terminal. In the code itself, I'll paste it over here. I'll press enter. And as you can see, this is not a Git repository. How will you create this project? How will you turn this into Git repository is you can type this command git init to mark it as a Git repository. Now you'll paste this command once again and see, this is done. Now you can add a branch. You can create a branch called main by copying this command. Once you do that, you can see that your branch has changed to main. Now you can push your code to this repository. And the way you do it is you first add your code to a stage, then you commit your changes, whatever change, let's say, um, I instead of this is a paragraph, this is the first paragraph. Okay. And let's say I want to commit this change that in it, or maybe I added a new paragraph. Okay. Once you do this, press enter, and this will stage your changes. Now, if you want to push your code, enter this command git push origin main. Once you press enter, you can see that it has started to upload your code. And then once the process has been completed, you can refresh your GitHub page and you can see that all your code has been added and your commit text has been added over here as well. I added a new paragraph. Okay. Now, if let's say I make a change over here and I want to add the second paragraph and a third paragraph. If I save this, what do you think? Will the changes be implemented on the GitHub repository? If I reload this, this was not updated. So if let's say I want to add another change, what I do is I again add all my code. I commit the changes that I made, added two other paragraphs, and then I push all my code to the main branch on the origin that I have set. Origin is basically the remote repository that you have declared on GitHub. Once you did that, you can refresh your page, and as you can see, we've added two new paragraphs over here. Okay. If you click on this, you'll be redirected to this page where you can see the new changes and you can see the old changes as well. Okay, cool. Now, I think your question has been answered, Sheikh. So we'll continue with Next.js now. So back to Next.js, you can read the documentations of the Next.js site. And let me tell you, this documentation is a complete blessing to everyone who are trying to start Next.js because everything is explained very clearly and you can understand the documentations just by looking at it. Okay. You have ways you can create templates and pages, and then you can route between them. How you can start with Next.js is once you go to the getting started section, click on installation. You can copy this command and it will ask you certain questions as to how you can create this project. And once you're done doing that, you'll see this boilerplate code. If you want me to initialize this project, you can just drop it in the chat, or else I'll be moving to a different topic. Okay. So do you want me to do that? Or like anyone? Does anyone want me to create this project by myself right now in front of you and show you? Just drop it in the chat if you want to. Okay. Then I'll be going back to my terminal, and then I'll click on installation section in this Next.js documentation. I'll copy this command, come back to my terminal, and maybe let's first create a folder. Okay, I'll type make dir, that stands for make a directory, and I'll name my project as first Next.js project. Let me navigate inside my Next.js project. Let me open it in my code editor. Now, once I am in my code editor, I'll open the terminal and then I'll paste this command over here. Let me add dot slash to initialize the entire project in this folder itself. Once I click on it, the process will start. Would you like to use TypeScript? No, I will use JavaScript. But then there is a reason that I'll use TypeScript over here and not JavaScript, and that's because TypeScript is used more than JavaScript to create production-ready applications. And we have a lot of libraries, a lot of popular libraries, such as ShadCN and Magic UI and Affinity UI, which I'll show you in a bit. And all those support TypeScript instead of JavaScript. So if you want to simplify your process, just click on TypeScript. Would you like to use ESLint? Yes. Uh, do I want to use Tailwind CSS? Yes. Would you like to keep your code inside a SRC directory? Yes. Would you like to use App Router? Yes. Would you like to use TurboPack? Let's go with the default ones now. Now it'll start installing all the dev dependencies. Once it's done, we will set up Tailwind CSS and then we can continue like we did in React. Okay. So let me go back to this page and let me search for installation with Next.js. I'll click on Next.js and I'll again follow this documentation. Let us wait for this to get installed. Till then, I'll look at the documentation. And the first step is to create my project. We have already done that. We will continue with the next step, and that is installing Tailwind CSS. So we'll copy this command. We'll come back to our code and create it first Next.js project at this directory. Okay, at this location. I'll clear this. And over here, I'll paste the command that I have copied from the Tailwind CSS site. I'll press enter so that it takes some time to download everything. Now, when we come to the third step, I'll copy the content of the content array, and we'll navigate to the tailwind config.js file. And this is the file. I'll replace this with the content that is given on the documentation. And I'll look for the globals.css file and I'll add these over there. And as you can see, this is already added over here. So we'll skip this step. Then we can run our project and we can look at the changes. Okay. So first I'll run this project using npm run dev. And what we'll first see is the boilerplate code. Okay. So I'll copy this localhost URL like I did in React. I'll go to that side and you can see that this is the boilerplate code that we get over here. Okay. Now we'll delete all of this and we'll write a function like this. Okay. We'll import React from this React package. And this is basically a TypeScript and this is a TSX code basically. How JavaScript and TypeScript is different is that for JavaScript, you don't have to actually define the types. But for TypeScript, you have to define every data according to that. You have to declare the types for that as well. So let's say if I write a code over here, let's say hello world. I don't have to define the type for the elements over here. But if let's say I want to define, let's say constant a that is equal to 1, I don't have to define it for that as well, right? So what is the use of TypeScript in this? If let's say you go to this page, this layout.tsx, once you learn React.js properly, you'll understand that whatever params and whatever functionality that you add over here, you can add the types for that to make your code even more fast. And as you can see over here, I've accepted a parameter called the children parameter, and the type is declared as react.react node. Okay, so let's go back to page.tsx. I've written as hello world. Let me define a class and let me keep it Excel. Font should be a bold one. When we go back to this style of this text has changed. Now, uh, as you can see, this over here is just a text, and the URL of this page is localhost 3000. Let's say if I want to go to a different URL, let me say dog. When I go to this page is not found because I haven't written any code for this page. Next.js provides you a way to route to different pages by not actually adding any hrefs over here, but instead what you can do is you can create different folders, and inside a folder over here, this is the app folder by the way, and inside the app folder directly you can see the page.tsx. So whatever you saw on this page on the slash URL, the code for this is written in this page. And let's say if inside the dog folder, I create a page.tsx, and this, let's say, is the dog page. And if I actually go to the dog page, you can see that this page is a different one as to that of the index, like the first one, the slash page. Okay. So this is how routing works in Next.js, and it's called file-based routing, folder-based routing. Okay. And you can add the layout.tsx page over here as well. So as to define a specific template of how you want the inner and that particular domain to be, that particular what is it called, subdirectory to be. And yeah, that's it. Now I'll show you this website which I had made, and I'll show you how easy it is to make this page within, let's say, half an hour. Okay, so I'll go back to this directory and I'll open the OSPC event, not this one. Okay, open this one. Let me close this Next.js project and let me copy this URL over here and paste it over here. And this was the page I was talking about. Okay. This, when I reload this page once again, you can see this has an animation to it. This is a marquee section. When I hover on this marquee, this stops. And when I hover on this stops as well. If we navigate to This section, if you click on a picture, it zooms itself to the middle of the screen, and you can see the text over here. How I did this was I have used certain library components, component library websites, such as I can use ShadCN, let's say. If I go to the components folder, the components tab, I can see that there are a lot of pre-made components that I can copy from. Let's say this is the button component. If I go to the preview, it will show me a preview of this. If I go to the code, I can copy this code and I can add it to my project. Now, the process to do is you need to first link your project to the, I mean, you have to actually install the packages required to make the ShadCN UI work in your project. So the process is very simple. You go to the documentations, you click on the installation tab, you click on the framework that you're using, and then you, after creating your project, you just copy these commands and you can continue your process. Like after you are done with this, you can go back to the components. You can follow this installation process. This is the command to add a button. And once you're done with that, you can copy this code and you can add it to your project. Then we have different other components as well, such as this calendar calendar button, calendar component. Then we have a card component over here. We have a carousel component. We have a chart, and you don't need to do much to create this chart. You can just go to the charts tab of ShadCN UI and choose a chart you like. Click on view code. You can copy the code using this. And if, let's say, you have any doubt or if you're facing any issue, if you want any changes to be made in the code and you have no one to help you, you have V0. You can click on this V0, open in V0 tab button, and you will be redirected to a V0 page with this dot itself, with this component itself. You can um ask this V0 AI to change the any functionality you want to be added, or maybe any changes you want in this particular component. Let's say I want the bars in this chart to be of red color. Once I enter, it will take some time to change the color. It will automatically change the color of this chart in the code. And once it's done, it will show you the preview. And as you can see, this is done over here. Now you can go back to your code, you can copy this entire code, and you can paste it in your project itself. Now, let's come back to our site. How did I import all these things? Right. What I did was I used sites such as Asternity UI, which is just like ShadCN UI, but it gives you a lot of other features as well. It like gives you better components, such as if you look at this component over here, this is a MacBook scroll component, where let's say if I scroll down, it'll give me an animation like this. I can also click on this animated modal. When I hover on this, no, ShadCN UI. I'll send you the link. This is a component library, and similar to ShadCN, there are many other component libraries. Um, for example, this Acinity UI is another example. Um, in this site, if you look at the components, let's say this animated modal component, if you hover on this and if you click on this, you can see that this is a pre-made component. If you want to import this, you can do so by first following the installation process. You need to first install Next.js. As I told you that some of these libraries don't work with React.js, and you need to install Next.js and you need to work on a Next.js project to use these. There might be other React supported libraries as well, but a lot of good component libraries work in Next.js applications. So first create your project in Next.js and install Tailwind CSS like this. This is the same as we did in while creating this project. Then add your utilities using these commands. Okay. Once you are done doing that, you can go to these components, install it using this command, and then pasting it over here, and then you can do the other things. Now, uh, for the site that I showed you just now, I took the component named hero highlight. Okay, I'll go to this similar one over here. Let me search that component, hero highlight. Yeah. So this is the component that I used in my project over here. And as you can see, this is the component used in this website that I created. And again, for this marquee component, as you can see over here, this is not present in this library. So I used another component library component, which is known as Magic UI. You can go to Magic UI. I'll again share the link of this to you guys. And I'll also share you the link to Ace20 UI. And as you can see, this is the marquee component. You can install it using this command. You can paste it in your terminal. And once it's done, you can go to this code tab and then you can copy all this or using this button and you can paste it just like I did over here. Okay. I pasted all the code over here and then I imported this in the main page and then this is how it appears over here. And I imported this picture component using Asanity UI and I followed the similar process. I also added the navigation using that library, and you can add a lot of other components just like this. So right now, I'll be importing one of the components that you would like me to add. If let's say I go to this Magic UI, let me see what I can add. Hmm. So what do you think? Which thing should we add here? Um, Tell me guys, which component should I add in the project? You choose from here and tell me. Dot pattern. Okay, where is dot pattern? Where is dot pattern? Hmm. I don't think dot pattern is there over here. Oh, it is here. So you want me to import this, right? So what I'll do is, like I said, you need to first install the entire Magic UI utility by following these steps. Then let's say you go to this component, look at the preview, choose it if you want to. Uh, Head to the installation page, installation tab, click on copy. You can choose your package manager from here. You can either use PNPM, NPM, Yarn, or Bun. Let me copy this here and let me just split my terminal and paste this command over here. Let me click enter and this will install this particular component. And as you can see, this installed a component called .pattern.tsx. This is a file which was added in my components folder inside my Magic UI folder. This is the folder this is the file which was installed. Okay, you need not mess with this file. I'll tell you how to use it. Then we can go back to this code, click on this, copy this code. As you can see, the name of the component is dot pattern demo. So once you go to the components folder, we can create a component called dot pattern demo dot tsx and paste the code which you just copied from here. And if you see that there is an error over here, you can just change the location from where you added it. So the dot pattern component is inside the components slash magic UI slash dot pattern folder. So once I save this and I copy the name of this component, go back to page.tsx. Let me create a div first. And let's say I want the padding to be 20. And let's say I want a border. Let me come back to my site. And as you can see, this is the div I created. Now, inside this, let's say I want this component to be present. So I'll show you the process once again. I'll I'll import this component by name, and it'll automatically show me suggestions for from where I need to import it from. So I'll click on this one. I'll declare this as a self-closing tag. And once I come back to this, you can see that this has been imported, and this is the component that I was trying to add. Cool. I can also add some other components from here. Is it possible to use these UI components with JSX as a yes, it is possible. It is possible. Uh, but the problem is that just give me a second, guys. Yeah, okay. So even if you have a JSX project, you might need to change some properties inside your TSX files. For example, let's say over here, uh, you can see that this is a TSX file. So the basic difference between a TSX and a JSX file is that once you change, let's say if I want to change the name of this file and name it as a JSX file, you'll see that interface declarations can only be made in TypeScript files. So you need to delete this interfaces. Okay, you need to delete these interfaces. And once you do that, it will show you no error anymore. And if you go back to this, I think this should work. You might have to change your entire project to JSX now. So yeah, as you can see, you can face these errors if you create such disparity between your code. And I would suggest you guys to use just TSX or JSX in a project. If I had created this project using JSX, it would have been easy for me. And Ayush, if you already have a JSX project and if you want to import these components, just import the dot pattern or whatever things you might want to add and change it according to what I did just now. Again, the difference between a TypeScript and a JavaScript folder is that you have types and interfaces, and you might have to remove that if it's already there in that. And you just have to change the name of the file from TSX to JSX. Okay. So yes, this is how you import files. And let me just delete this so that it doesn't give me an error anymore. Delete this as well. So yeah, this is working now. Can you show how to add animations by React bits? What do you mean bits? If you're asking me how to add animations using this, using Tailwind CSS, let me again create a div. Let me set the padding as 20. Let me add a div again and a span. I'll set the display as flex, justify as between, no, not between, center. And inside this span, I'll add an icon, let's say loader. I'll import this and I'll write the class name as with 10 maybe, height 10, and I'll set the animation to spin. Okay. Now when I go back to this page, you can see that I have added an animation to this component. If I remove the animation, it will be just a still icon. Again, if I add an animation, it'll start rotating again. React Bits is similar to Magic UI or say GSAP. Okay, let me see. I've never used React Bits, so let me see. Oh, this is nice. Uh, so if I want to use this documentation, hmm, okay, this is nice. If I want to import it using this, I'll use TypeScript and Tailwind. Um, I'm new to this, so let's go through this together. Do we have to install this first? I think no. Um, okay, let's go back to CLI and copy this. Since this is a React project, I think we should open this in a React project itself. Yeah. Which one was my React project? I don't remember. I think I was. Hmm, this was in my file. This was my React project. So over here, let's say I want to add, let's run this project first. Let's copy this URL once again and let's close this if you want to look at that site. Let's save this and let me merge these two windows and close this. I'll visit this page. And yes, this is the page where I have my React project. So below this, I want this component to appear. So I'll click on CLI and click on this. I'll copy this. I'll paste it over here. Let's click enter. Oh wait, this is actually a JS React project, right? So I'll click on JS plus Tailwind and then I'll clear this. I'll paste this command over here. I want to proceed. Yes, I do want to proceed. This will take some time, I guess, and we'll wait for this. I think we can also change the properties of this. Like we can change the edge. Okay, nice. We can change the edge, the pattern scale, pattern blur. That's cool. Refraction as well, the liquidity and the speed as well. So, do you have a JS repo initialized in your project? No, I don't. Wait, what? Okay, let's. Where would I like to add animations? Where would I like to add? Flash animations. Wait, let me just create an animations folder over here. Let me copy the relative path and include tests. No. Add watermark. No. What formatter would you like to use? Did you? We couldn't find a TS config. If you intended to use a relative path, ensure that you're using path with a. Okay. Let me use AI to see what problems I made. Okay, so we had to add a tsconfig.json. That's the problem. And let's run this. So basically, you have to add this file, tsconfig.json inside this. And I think they should work. No inputs were find. Hmm. So whenever you are working in a hackathon project, you'll come across many frameworks, many sites that will be new to you. Okay. So I advise all of you to install GitHub Copilot in your VS Code code editor so that if you face any errors like this, okay, because this React bits was new to me, this might be new to a lot of you. So if let's say if you face any kind of error, you can just copy this, go to Chat GPT and paste it over there, and you can ask the Chat GPT if what problem am I facing and fix it for me. Or you can also install, let's say, you can also install GitHub Copilot in your code editor and ask it over there. In my case, I'm using Cursor, which is a code editor which has a built-in Claude supported AI. Uh, so I'll just ask it, what is the problem and why am I not able to use this component? I also copy this, paste this here. I'll also add the app.jsx and then I'll click enter. So we should make sure that we have a v.config.js file. Let's add it here. And then we should run this command. I'll stop this because it has asked me to stop my dev server. And then I'll restart this. Try importing the animation component you're using for the animation contents of your v.config.js file if you have one. Any error messages? Okay. So what we'll do is we can again go back to this and let's see the full snippet for this. Okay, so the code is this one and the usage is this. So what I'll do is I'll copy this. I'll copy this. I'll create a components folder. Let me try to do it manually. Uh, animation.jsx, let's name it like this. We save it over here. Actually, let me create a UI folder and then keep it inside this. Then I will create an animation slash component.jsx, and I'll go back to this page. I'll copy the usage code over here, paste it like this over here, and I'll go back to components, UI, and then animation. And I think this should work now. Now I'll click on this. I'll export default constant. I'll create it like this. Or maybe what I can do is I can just export it like this. Export default component. And then I'll try to use it over here. Let's see if this works or not. Hmm. No, I'll go back to this once again. I'll go to the top and I'll see if this has. Okay, it doesn't have a CSS file. It has, okay, this is the CSS file that I needed to add. So I'll create a CSS file named as metallic paint.css. Paste the code over here and go back to this and stop the server, run it once again and see what's there. Okay, so import logo from assets slash logos slash react bits dot solid white svg. Okay, are we missing anything here? No, I guess. So let us look at this. Okay, so the thing is that we have missed this CLI setup. So what we'll do is we'll initialize a coding file in our project. For JavaScript and Tailwind, we'll copy this command. Please enter. Okay, let's do this. Let's go with this one. Which formatter would you like to use? Prettier. What category paths would you like to configure? Components. Handle repo. Yes. Where should we download the blocks from? GitHub. Okay. Would you like to use an auth token? No. What category paths would you like to configure? Uh, I think no. Wait, let me check. Hmm. Browse and add components from the list. Okay. It's done, I guess. So let me just delete all this. Let me delete this too. I think we don't need any other repo. So we have everything set up. I'll once again go back to this, go to the CLI. I'll add JS plus Tailwind command over here. Let's see if this works. It has started fetching. It's done now. And let's see if this thing works. Okay. Now, if I go back to my components, no, it's not here. Let me go to this metallic paint.
Guys, hold on for 2 minutes. Manath will be back. He has got some network issues. Just hold on.
Okay, hello guys. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So let's continue with this. Hmm. We had added everything. Browse and add components from the list, or just add a specific component. Um, let's see. For using this, we had okay, okay. I understand now. So let me copy this. Let me create another component called component for now. Let me add this code over here. I don't know why this gave me an error. Okay, let's paste this and let's export default this component. Let me come back to this page and then create this component and import it from here. Fail to resolve metallic paint. Does the file even exist? Okay, let me see. So I'll change the location from blocks to animation slash metallic paint slash this. And the logo, your SVG should have a bit of padding around the shape to keep it from being cut off. Replace with your own SVG. Okay, so I'll add the AI, ask the AI, add an SVG to this location. So I'll accept this. And as you can see, this works. Okay. Uh, over here, the SVG used in this component was a different one, and I used a circular SVG. If I ask my AI to, yeah, import path was incorrect. Okay, import path was incorrect. Hmm. Let me see. Assets logos. Is this the SVG? No, this is not the SVG. Okay, but you understand. If you add a correct path to this, it will work for you guys. Okay. So yeah, you can similarly use other components from here as well. And this is how you work with a different library that you just came across. You might face errors like this, but remember that uh, in some frameworks, such as let's say Bootstrap, if you are just starting off, which one do I think is better at animations? Okay, I'll tell you that. Now let me complete this thing that let's say for Bootstrap, you don't need to install anything. If you go, this is basically a library for HTML and CSS. Okay, you need to have a CDN link to the starting of your code. Or no, at the end of the code inside a script tag. Let's say if you're using this one, you can copy it from here and then you can paste it in your HTML directly. You don't need to install anything. You don't need to add any kind of utility to your project. But when you come to sites like this, you do need to have to install the utilities as well in the beginning. So like I skipped this in the beginning, so I faced all those errors. But if you look at the documentations carefully, you won't face these errors when you work on your own. Now, which one do you think is better at animations? We have a lot of frameworks for animations. One of it is Framer Motion. Then we have GSAP. What I have seen is that GSAP is very good and it's very optimized, in my opinion. If you go to the GSAP's official documentation website, you can look at this website. This all this animation is made using GSAP itself. Uh, if I scroll slowly, you can see the animations. So you can add this all these animations by using GSAP. It takes a lot of practice, but then yeah, it's possible. So yes, you can do all these things. For Framer Motion and GSAP, both of them are same, but if you are building a complex project, then in that case, I would prefer GSAP to like over Framer Motion. New Brutalism styling theme. It's a new type of UI. Let's see what that is. New Brutalism UI. Okay, so New Brutalism is this. Okay, if this is what you're talking about, I absolutely love these kind of websites. So yeah, uh, this is nice. I would definitely want uh, my projects which are based on some um, you know there are many kind of UI designs. You can have designs which look like this, little cartoonish, or you can have sites like the one I showed you in this. This is more modern. It has a modern look to it. This has a more cartoony look to it. So if let's say you are building any service which has its vibe related to this thing, then yeah, continue with this UI designing theming. So yes, and I think once we are done with this, Cursor Composer free tier usage limits. There is no way to tackle it. I started using Cursor a long time back, and I used it for a month, and I was really impressed with it. Then I had been coding in VS Code itself, and suddenly I thought like I should pay for it and I should use its premium features as well. So I bought it. I didn't do anything else. Cursor versus Windsurf, which one is better? I haven't used Windsurf, so I don't know. Let's check it out. Windsurf. Personally, I really like Cursor, so and I haven't used this, so I don't know. But you can drop your these questions in Reddit maybe, and you can see if what they tell you. What I've seen is if I have questions like this, when I search it on Reddit, I get very satisfactory answers. Okay, I'll surely do that. Thank you so much. So with this, I think we come to the end of our session. If you have any questions, please do throw at me. And yeah, I'll be waiting. How to add MCP servers to Cursor? I tried this in VS Code before, and basically what happened is that I actually did a different thing, I guess. I downloaded a local Llama 3 model, and then I tried to connect it with my VS Code interface, and it actually broke my Mac machine because it started hanging very badly. So yeah, I think I won't do it. But yes, this question is a topic for a different um, day. So for now, if you have any questions related to this topic, like the component libraries and stuff, you can surely ask me. I guess we have no further questions. Um, okay, I guess we can conclude today's session. Uh, if you have any further questions, you can follow me on LinkedIn and you can text me over there. I'll be happy to help you guys. Um, so yeah. So thank you everyone, and thank you Google for giving me this opportunity. Um, and I really enjoyed this, and I enjoyed interacting with you guys. So yeah, thank you so much. Uh, any AI for generating UI? I would always use V0 for generating UI because my vibe matches with ShadCN. I like things very minimalistic and clean. I prefer black and white to all the other colors. So for me, V0 is the one. But you might have different, like you do have a lot of different sites with generate AI. But yeah, saw me yesterday. Thank you so much. Okay, oh, you saw me yesterday. That's nice. That's nice. At hackathon. That's cool. Okay. Um, over to Gokul. Thank you so much, everyone.
We extend our heartfelt thanks to Manat Jaiswal from uh, Open Source Programming Club. In behalf of the Empower Tech Committee, organizing committee, we also extend our sincere thanks to all the participants for spending your time today night. And yes, the most awaited ML event and blockchain event will be on Monday, Tuesday, and you will also have your GitHub version control systems and other concepts also. Alongside the IBM events and other are set to happen on the day of uh, hackathon. So we would love to see all your participations actively in that. And yes, thank once again I thanks Manoj Jaiswal for this wonderful evening session. Thank you guys.